do want to touch on kind of taking something from, thought to actual product or actual reality. When do you think you learned that process? Because a lot of people, even especially in this day rather, kind of have all these ideas, but they're never able to actualize them.
Yeah.
And you've done this countless times, but if you could recall where that framework came from and what some of the elements that comprise that framework are.
Well, it wasn't formal training. For example, my book describes I was around 14 years old, and I didn't come from great wealth. I lived in Brooklyn, New York. My parents both worked. And for Christmas one year, my dad gave me an old style wooden shoebox because I went to Catholic school for 8 years, and you had a uniform, white shirt, tie, and your shoes needed to be shined. So for Christmas, my gift was a shoebox. And I could certainly shine my own shoes to prepare for school, but I developed that into an opportunity. And in the 1960s, I took my shoebox before school to the subway stop at the bottom of my street and shined shoes for businessmen going to work on Wall Street for 10 cents a shine. Now, that today doesn't sound like a lot of money, but for a kid, 14 years old, one, the inspirational accomplishment of making something from nothing, taking a gift like a shoebox and generating revenue from it, it was a great motivator. And I would make 50 cents or $1 before I had to be at school at 9 o'clock. And it sort of started there. And when you have success, you're further motivated to do it more. So serving in the Marine Corps, of course, would be everything anyone would envision. But then when I got to town in Vegas as a civilian, as a dealer and a realtor, getting into the tavern business, as I said earlier, Cy Red developed video poker. And a buddy of mine who I met in the Marine Corps moved to Vegas with me at the same time. We were roommates. When we got married, we bought houses side by side. We raised our children together as friends. And when I purchased my first tavern, Dan Hughes was my business partner. Well, his skill set was screen printing from where he enlisted in Philadelphia. They screen printed signs and flags. Well, in Las Vegas, slot machine fronts were screen printed. But there was no market for that because the only slot machine manufacturer early on was Bally's, who had their own print shop. Dan became the manager of that print shop. When Cy Red developed video poker and people realized that a good idea with a computer chip could develop new gaming machines, the world market was filled with slot developers who didn't want to build their own cabinets, build their own steel frames, or print their own slot glass. So as a niche finder, Dan and I developed Suburban Graphics, which was going to be an independent printer of slot glass. So we would protect the confidentiality of a slot manufacturer who was developing a new game design. We wouldn't share it with their competitors. And we took a small business administration loan of $100,000, parlayed that into a company that would do over $12 million a year in sales with over 100 employees, and went from a small 2,000 square foot leasehold property where we started into 48,000 square feet of building that we ended up owning the real estate and operating our business from before 20 years passed and we sold it to another company, and Dan opted to retire. And other businesses that my book describes, one had no relation to another, but we opened the glass and mirror company. I got into the automobile dealership business and kept spreading my wings with new challenges. Not only do you do that to make money, that's always a great reward because you could enhance your quality of life, raise your family in a manner that you want to, but it was also a great feeling of accomplishment to take an idea, make it happen, and fulfill it successfully. But in answer to your earlier question, grabbing the bull by the horns is how someone takes an idea and makes it happen. It's not always easy to forfeit a job that earns you a good living. You punch a clock and
Right.
you can get by, but to take a risk, put your money on the line and risk giving it all up if you fail, someone needs to have the gumption to grab the bull by the horns and pursue that kind of opportunity.